Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Graveveil. I want to tell you a horror story. It was just another rainy Tuesday. I'd come home around 9:30 p.m. after a long shift, tossed my jacket over the chair, and microwaved some leftovers. My place isn't much, just a small house in a quiet neighborhood outside of town. The kind of street where everyone parks in their driveways and curtains are closed by 8. I remember how still everything felt that night. The kind of quiet that makes you notice the hum of your fridge. It had been drizzling for hours, and the sound of water tapping on the windows was oddly calming. I took a hot shower, brushed my teeth, and got into bed with my phone, just scrolling aimlessly. That's when I heard it. 3 firm knocks at the front door. Not urgent, not frantic, just deliberate. I froze. It was nearly 11 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. I never do, especially on a weekday night. For a few seconds, I considered ignoring it. Maybe it was a neighbor or a delivery mistake. But something felt off. My porch light flickered through the curtains. Whoever was out there wasn't leaving. Then I heard a voice, low, steady. "Police, open the door, please." I sat up. My heart kicked into a higher gear. He didn't say why. He didn't sound concerned, just rehearsed. I moved to the window, careful not to be seen, and peeked through the blinds. There was a man in a dark jacket. He held something up, looked like a badge. But he never knocked again. I stayed behind the curtain, watching. The man didn't move much. He stood with one hand in his jacket pocket, the other loosely holding what I assumed was some form of ID. But he wasn't holding it up anymore. He wasn't knocking. He was just waiting. The porch light caught his face in brief flashes. Mid-30s maybe. Clean shaven. Nothing about him screamed danger, but something didn't sit right. He wasn't wearing a full uniform. Just a dark windbreaker. No visible radio. No name tag. No vehicle with lights on the curb. Still, I cracked the window just enough to hear. "I need to speak with you," he said again, firm but not aggressive. "There's been a report of suspicious activity linked to this address. I'll need to come in and ask a few questions." His tone wasn't apologetic. No explanation. No paperwork. Just the assumption I'd obey. That's when it hit me. He never said my name. Not once. If this was a real call, wouldn't he confirm who lived here? Wouldn't he provide some details? I cleared my throat. "Can I see your badge?" He pulled something from his pocket, held it up for a second, too quick to verify, then shoved it back in. "We can talk inside," he said. That did it for me. I backed away from the window and grabbed my phone from the nightstand. As I dialed 911, I whispered everything. The knocks, the man, the vague accusation. The operator asked for my address. Seconds passed. "There are no officers dispatched to your location," she said quietly. "Stay on the line." And outside, the man stepped closer to the door. The moment I heard those words, "No officers dispatched to your location," something cold settled in my chest. I kept the line open with 911, speaking in hushed tones. The operator told me to stay calm, stay inside, and not open the door under any circumstance. I didn't need to be told twice. The man was now closer. He'd stepped off the porch and was pacing slowly across the front yard, like he was thinking. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he was mouthing something to himself, or to someone else. Then I saw it. He looked up, made direct eye contact with me through the blinds, and smiled. It wasn't friendly. It was slow. Measured, like he knew I was watching the whole time. I dropped to the floor, heart hammering. Then came the sound that made my stomach drop, the soft rattle of the front doorknob being tested. He was trying to open it. "I think he's trying to force entry," I whispered to the dispatcher. "Police are on their way." "Estimated 3 minutes," she said. "Do you have any other doors?" "Yes, the back door." I ran through the hallway and locked it again, even though I was sure I already had. Then I checked the garage door. Secure. The house was quiet, but I couldn't shake the feeling. He wasn't alone. There was movement outside the kitchen window. Quick, low to the ground. Another figure. I wasn't just dealing with one fake cop. They had a plan. I crouched low in the kitchen, lights off, every sense sharpened by fear. The rain had picked up again, masking the sounds outside, but I caught faint footsteps. At least two people. One circled toward the side gate. Another stayed near the porch. They were trying to surround the house. I slid down behind the counter, clutching the phone. The dispatcher stayed with me, voice steady, telling me help was seconds away. That's when I heard a soft thud by the back door, followed by silence. I held my breath. Every creak of the house felt amplified. Then footsteps on gravel, running. More than one pair. A minute passed, then another. When the real police arrived, they found nothing but muddy footprints along the porch and side path. The fake badge was gone. No car in sight. No cameras caught plate numbers. Whoever they were organized and gone. I never got an explanation. No arrests. No suspects. Just a warning from the officers to never open the door for anyone without full ID and a patrol car visible. But the worst part? 2 days later, I found a wet handprint on the back window I never noticed before. Pressed low, like someone had crouched there, watching. Sometimes, when the rain hits the glass just right, I still see the shape. And I wonder if they'll ever come back. It was just after 8 p.m. when I got home. I'd picked up an extra shift at the clinic, and by the time I pulled into the driveway, the neighborhood was already quiet. Lights dimmed, kids inside, that kind of calm that makes you exhale without realizing you were holding your breath all day. My daughter, Emily, was 15. She'd texted me earlier that she finished her homework and was going to bed early. Typical for her. Quiet kid, smart, not the kind to cause trouble. Our house isn't big, just a 2-bedroom on a cul-de-sac, surrounded by identical lawns and front porches. I walked in, dropped my bag, and kicked off my shoes. The TV was off. No sound, except for the distant hum of a lawnmower somewhere down the block. I glanced down the hallway and saw her bedroom light was off. I didn't want to wake her, so I just heated some leftovers, ate at the counter, and started getting ready to shower. That's when I heard it. 3 knocks at the front door. Sharp. Too sharp. I froze, fork still in hand. Another knock, followed by a man's voice. Calm. Assertive. "Ma'am, I'm with the local police. I need to speak with you about your daughter." Every muscle in my body tensed. I stepped slowly toward the window, careful not to be seen. There was a man on the porch, wearing dark clothes, no visible uniform. And he wasn't holding a badge, just waiting. I cracked the window just enough to hear him clearly. "I'm Officer Daniels," he said. "We received a tip involving your daughter, Emily. We believe she may be in danger. I need to come in and ask a few questions." My heart sank. He knew her name. But something about him didn't match the urgency of his words. He wasn't in uniform. No patrol car out front, no partner. Just a man in a dark jacket and jeans, standing on my porch like he'd been here before. I asked for ID. He pulled something from his pocket, a small wallet-like case, and flipped it open too quickly to see. No badge number, no department. Then he tucked it away just as fast. "Time's important here," he said, more stern now. "We have reason to believe she's been in contact with individuals involved in organized crime. I need to speak with her, immediately." Organized crime? My daughter barely spoke to anyone outside her friend group. She spent most evenings drawing in her room with headphones on. "I need to speak with her," he repeated, stepping closer to the door. "Wait," I said, my voice shaky. "How did you get our address?" He paused. "Please open the door," he said, not answering. "We don't have time for questions." That was it for me. I took a step back and locked the door with a firm click. His demeanor changed instantly. The polite mask dropped, his jaw clenched. He wasn't just pretending to be calm anymore. Now, he looked annoyed. I didn't answer him again. Instead, I backed away from the door and grabbed my phone. Dialed 911, heart pounding so hard I could barely hear the rings. I whispered everything. The man, the false ID, the mention of my daughter's name. The operator's voice was calm but clipped, professional. There are no officers assigned to your address. Stay inside. Help is on the way. When I peeked back through the blinds, he was still there, still staring at the door. Only now, he had both hands in his jacket pockets. "Ma'am," he called again, louder now. "If you don't let me in, we'll have to escalate this." That's when I ran down the hall to Emily's room. She was asleep. Peaceful, headphones still in. She hadn't heard a thing. I gently shook her awake. Her eyes fluttered open, confused. "Don't move," I whispered. "Stay here. Don't say a word." I went back to the living room and turned off every light, locked the back door again, checked the windows. When I returned to the front, the man was no longer on the porch. He had stepped off into the yard, just out of sight. The motion light on the driveway flicked on, then off. I dropped to the floor and crawled toward the back window. And that's when I saw a second shadow. They weren't alone. I crouched low by the back window, barely daring to breathe. The second figure moved slowly between our fence and the neighbor's hedges, keeping low, like they'd done this before. Coordinated. Silent. The dispatcher was still on the line. "Units are 2 minutes out." "Stay where you are," I wanted to scream. Instead, I stayed frozen, heart racing, watching the yard like prey. Then came the knock again, softer this time, not at the front. At the side door. They were testing every point of entry. I told Emily to stay in the closet and not come out, no matter what. I locked myself in the hallway, between her room and the rest of the house, clutching a kitchen knife I barely remembered grabbing. Then silence. No knocks, no voices. Just the soft hum of my breathing and the faint sound of a siren in the distance. By the time the real police arrived, they were gone. Tire marks in the lawn. A neighbor's doorbell cam caught a blurry image of a dark sedan idling by the corner, with 2 men stepping inside. The badge the man flashed? Fake. No prints. No name. But the part I can't shake? He said Emily's name. First and last. And she swears she never talked to anyone strange. Never gave it out online. To this day, I don't know how they found us. But I know this. Someone was watching. And they still could be. I'd been delivering for 3 different apps for about a year. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the rent. And I liked the silence of driving alone at night. Less traffic, fewer weirdos. At least that's what I used to think. It was a Thursday around 9:15 p.m. I had one more delivery before calling it a night. A chicken salad from a mid-tier restaurant, headed to an office building in the business district. I'd been there before. Mostly dark after hours, a few cleaning crews, security guards sometimes. This time, the front lobby lights were off. I parked in the side lot and grabbed the order, walking toward the glass doors. As I checked the delivery instructions again on the app, someone called out from behind. "Excuse me, ma'am," I turned. A man was walking toward me from the far end of the parking lot. Late 40s, plain clothes, jeans, dark jacket, clean cut, not threatening, just confident. He held something up. A small badge in a leather holder, angled toward the light. "Detective," he said, casually. "We've had some incidents around here lately. Mind if I ask what you're doing?" I held up the delivery bag. "Just dropping this off. Should only take a second." He nodded, then stepped closer. "This building's been flagged for surveillance," he said. "Would you mind staying right here while I check something? For your safety." It sounded official, calm, but my gut tightened. There was no police car, no radio, and his badge, I hadn't really seen it. Just a glimpse. I stood there, still holding the bag, unsure if I should push past him or play along. He wasn't aggressive, but there was something off about the way he watched me, not just scanning for threats, but studying me. "What app are you using?" he asked. "DoorDash," I lied. It was actually Uber Eats, but I wasn't about to give him accurate info. He nodded slowly. "They don't usually deliver here this late." I shrugged. "I go where the money is." He gave a half smile, then looked at the bag. "Mind if I ask what's in it?" "Chicken salad," I said, keeping my voice flat. "Who's it for?" I hesitated. That was a weird question. I glanced down at the phone. He stepped in slightly, as if trying to peek at the screen. "Ma'am," he said, voice firmer now, "this is part of an active investigation. I just need to confirm a few things before you go any further." Something about that line sounded rehearsed. "If there's an investigation," I said, "shouldn't there be more officers here?" He paused. "I'm off duty, but I monitor this location on my own time. There have been incidents with delivery drivers bringing in more than food." He said it like it was a warning, like I should be grateful. But again, no radio, no clipboard, no flashlight. Just a jacket and a voice that wanted me to stay exactly where I was. I looked back at the building. The lobby was still dark. No movement inside. And I realized he wasn't trying to stop a crime. He was trying to stall me. I took a slow breath and tried to keep my expression neutral. "Okay," I said, pretending to relax. "Just tell me what you need." He seemed to ease slightly, like he'd won something. But I kept my grip tight on the bag and shifted my phone subtly in my hand, tapping open the chat with support. I shared my location and typed quickly, "Someone pretending to be police. Feels wrong. No car, no uniform." I hit send, then swiped to camera mode. "Can I see your badge again?" I asked sweetly. He hesitated, then pulled it out. This time I leaned in as if I were reading it and snapped a photo. It looked real at first. Gold tone, standard shield shape. But the text was vague. No city seal, no badge number. Just special investigator. That's not a real department. I stepped back. "What's the name on the order again?" I asked. He didn't answer. "I just need to verify before I hand it off," I added. He looked blank for a moment, then said, "We're not allowed to give names." That was it. He didn't know the customer. He didn't know the app. He only knew the address. And that detail wasn't public. I glanced down the street. Empty. Except there was someone across the road, leaning against a parked car, watching. Another man. No uniform, no badge, just waiting. My pulse was pounding now. Two men. One playing detective, the other staying back, out of the light. It didn't feel like a coincidence. I angled my body toward my car without making it obvious, slowly inching away. The man in front of me noticed. "Ma'am, I need you to stay right here," he said, voice firmer. "For your safety." That line again. I didn't respond. Just gave a tight smile and nodded, like I was complying. But my fingers were already dialing, not the app support this time. I called 911. Quietly. Phone against my leg. I spoke softly. "There's a man pretending to be a cop," I whispered. "I think he's trying to keep me here. There's another one across the street." The dispatcher was calm. "Can you see a police vehicle?" "No," I said. "He's on foot. Badge looks fake. He's blocking me." "I have no officers assigned to that area right now," she said. "Lock yourself in your vehicle. Do not engage." The man across the street started walking. Slowly, toward us. I didn't wait. I stepped back quickly, turned, and ran to my car. He called out behind me. "Hey," I said. Door slammed, locks engaged. I reversed so fast I nearly clipped the curb. In the rear view mirror, both men were now standing together, just watching. They didn't chase. They didn't wave. They just stood there as I drove off into the night, heart racing, hands shaking. I pulled into a gas station a few blocks away and parked under the brightest light I could find. The dispatcher stayed on the line until a marked police unit arrived. Real officers, real uniforms, real car. I handed them everything, the photo of the badge, the description of the men, even the chat I'd sent to support. One of them looked at the photo and frowned. "This isn't a real badge," he said. "It's modeled after a discontinued private security shield. No legal authority." "Any idea who they are?" I asked. He shook his head. "But they knew too much. The address, the time of delivery. That's not random." They reviewed security footage from the building's cameras, but the system had been offline since last week. When I checked with the app the next day, the customer had canceled the order minutes after I left. No response from their profile after that. Nothing ever came of the report. The car they leaned on? No plates. The badge? No serial number. The worst part? They didn't want the food, or money, or my phone. They wanted me to stop, to stay put, to delay me. For what, I still don't know. Now I don't take late-night orders. I triple-check addresses. And I keep pepper spray in the cup holder, right next to my phone. Because every time I pull into a dark parking lot, I wonder if someone will be standing there again, with a badge that almost looked real. It was a Tuesday morning, quiet, gray, and slow. I was making coffee in the kitchen when I heard the knock. Not rushed, not aggressive, just steady. My dog, Jasper, perked up immediately. He was a big, yellow lab with more bark than bite. Friendly with everyone, especially nosy delivery guys. I glanced at the clock, 9:03 a.m. Through the peephole, I saw a man. Mid-40s, neatly dressed. Black windbreaker with a patch on the chest, clipboard in hand. "Good morning, sir," he said as I opened the door a crack. "Officer Raymond, Animal Control Unit. We received a complaint regarding a possible dog attack on this block yesterday." I blinked. "An attack?" He nodded, flipping through papers on his clipboard. A jogger reported being approached aggressively by a large yellow dog matching this address. No bite, but she felt threatened. "Protocol requires we follow up," I frowned. "Jasper was in the backyard all day yesterday. He never leaves the yard. The gate stays locked." The man glanced over my shoulder. "Is that him?" he asked. Jasper had wandered into view, tail wagging, completely oblivious. The man scribbled something down. "I'll need to collect the animal for a 48-hour behavioral assessment," he said. "Standard for first reports." "No fine at this stage," I hesitated. "Can I see your ID?" He flashed a wallet badge. Quick, enough to catch a glimpse of something silver and a name. Then he tucked it away. "It's best to cooperate," he added. Refusal could escalate to obstruction. Jasper barked once, playfully. I didn't know what to say, so I nodded. He stepped inside the gate without asking. Jasper trotted up to him like they were old friends. Tail wagging, tongue out, absolutely no sense of threat. That was the thing about him, too trusting, just like me. The man clipped a thin leash to Jasper's collar and gave me a folded paper. "This is your case number," he said. "You'll receive a notice within 24 hours with retrieval instructions." I took the paper. It had a logo on it, looked official. Government seal, barcode, even a number at the bottom. But something about the font felt off. Like a template from a printer, not something issued by a department. "Where are you taking him?" I asked. "Central Animal Processing," he replied, too quickly. "North Facility." There was no North Facility. I'd adopted Jasper from the local shelter. They only had one center, on the south end of town. I opened my mouth to question him again, but he cut me off. "Sir, I understand this is upsetting, but we can resolve it quickly if you follow the process. It's not a punishment, just protocol." The sooner we take him in, the sooner he comes home. He turned and walked toward a silver SUV parked half a block down. I watched them go. Jasper looked back once, ears up, confused but calm. I waved, and then the man closed the back door and drove away. That's when the weight in my chest finally settled. Something was wrong. The moment the SUV turned the corner, I went inside and dialed the local animal control office. I gave them the name, badge number, and the so-called case number from the paper. They had no record, no Officer Raymond, no reports from my street, no active collections that day. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I called the non-emergency police line next. Same response. Nothing in their system matched what I described. When I mentioned the SUV and the badge, the officer on the phone went quiet. "Can you describe the badge again?" he asked. I tried silver, circular, maybe eagle-shaped, but it was too fast, too staged. I hadn't looked long enough. He sighed. It sounds like he may not have been real law enforcement. My mind was racing now. I ran outside, checked my doorbell camera. It had captured the man's face, clear shot. But the SUV was too far, too blurry to make out the plate. I checked with neighbors. One had a camera angled toward the street. Together, we pulled the footage. The SUV had no rear plate, just a dark rectangle. I filed a report, gave everything I had. But I already knew he was gone, and Jasper was gone too. I spent the next 72 hours calling every vet, every shelter, every rescue group within 100 miles. Posted flyers, online groups, desperate messages, nothing. And that night, I couldn't sleep. Not just from the guilt, but from the fear. He knew my name. He knew Jasper's name. He'd been watching us before that knock. Days passed. No word, no sightings, no tips. The detective assigned to the case was kind but honest. These things were rare, but not unheard of. People posing as animal control, utility workers, even firefighters. All it took was a vest, a badge from eBay, and confidence. They couldn't trace the SUV. No plates, no traffic cams catching the turn. The paper he gave me? Fake. The barcode led nowhere. The number printed at the bottom wasn't even long enough to be valid. Worse than the silence was the paranoia that followed. I started noticing things I hadn't before. Cars slowing down near the house, footsteps on the sidewalk at odd hours. It could have been nothing. But after what happened, nothing felt harmless. I stopped leaving the back gate unlocked. Installed cameras on every corner. Started sleeping with a bat beside the bed. I glance at Jasper's empty bed in the corner of the living room and feel my stomach twist. Then, one evening maybe 5 days after it happened, I was locking the side gate when I heard it. A soft whistle. Familiar, slow, 2 notes. The one I used every time I called Jasper inside. I froze. Looked toward the end of the street. No one there, just shadows and a slight breeze. But I stayed outside for several minutes, staring, listening. I never saw who whistled, but I haven't heard it again since. And sometimes I wonder, if I had followed that sound down the street, would I have found Jasper? Or something else? If you've ever gone through something similar, or know someone who has, leave a comment below. Sometimes just telling it is already a way to protect yourself. And if this video made you think twice before letting your guard down, then it was already worth it. Here, we don't tell stories to entertain. We tell them to warn, because real fear doesn't jump scare you. It silences. It freezes. And if you want to keep hearing stories that might help keep you alive, subscribe. The next story could be yours.